Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the BS Scouting Podcast. My name is Sean Patten, and I have a very special guest with me today. His name is Daniel Greenberg. Daniel is featured on the Chicago Bulls Bleacher Report page and has over 50,000 followers. If you aren't following him, you better do it now. You can do it at Shy Sport Updates. Daniel, thank you for coming on today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. So, you are a very popular name around Chicago sports news. You have made a very big impact. Like, I can go to my buddies and they'll ask me, "Where'd you hear that?" I'd be like, Daniel tweeted it," and they're like, "Ah, all right." So everyone knows you around Chicago sports. Very popular name, very reliable source too. So very grateful to have you for that. So my first question for you is, how does a day-to-day work life go for you? Like, what are you doing on the everyday spectrum?
Yeah, I would say, there's a lot of behind the scenes work that,
Okay.
it's not just tweeting stuff out. You know, I, for me, my goal is to, I guess, be like the messenger to people in the Chicago sports world. If there's any news, updates, or scores, I try to be the first one or one of the first ones. I try to get it out there so people know right away. But I don't try to post stuff that's not true. I always try to, make sure it's the correct information because I don't want to tweet stuff out that it's not, the correct information. Then people
No,
see
yeah.
it, and then all of a sudden, it's incorrect. But I mean, the day to day is basically, see if there's any Chicago sports news because of like on there. I always try to post it. Every single day it's a different day. You never know what's gonna happen. Especially in the Chicago sports world, there's always news. Um, but yeah, there's always behind the scenes, emailing people, texting
Sure.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes to make sure that I have the account that I have today.
Okay. Yeah. I mean that, and you were even talking about the credibility aspect. I mean, that's a really big thing in this industry, if you're
Yep,
credible or not. So, props to you. You're doing a great job with that.
appreciate
Uh,
it.
so what got you into this industry? Like, I I don't know if you just all your life wanted to be this guy with 50,000 followers on Twitter reporting Chicago sports. Was there a turning point? Was this always your passion? Like, walk me through your process.
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of Chicago sports. My family, my dad has always been a fan. Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
the Bears. So he's got me into the Chicago sports world. I always say I'm a fan of Chicago sports. I'll never root against any of the sports teams. But how I got started with my Twitter account was basically in high school when Twitter was pretty new at the time.
Okay.
I've always had strong opinions about Chicago sports teams. So I created an account on Twitter and then I started tweeting some stuff out. I saw that a lot of people like my opinions. And then I decided to create a Chicago sports account for each sports team. So I've had,
Oh
the
wow.
Bulls,
Okay.
the Blackhawks, the Bears, Cubs, and White Sox. And then I've had, the one that I have right now, grew the followers for all those accounts. And then one day I had someone message me about my Bulls account, asking if I am willing to sell the account, which I didn't know was a thing.
Yeah.
So I asked them, what's the offer? And, they gave me a good offer for it. So I sold that account, the Bulls account. And then my other accounts for, the Blackhawks, the Bears, the Cubs, and White Sox, I tweeted one day, willing to, sell the accounts, and people messaged me
Oh, you
about
were
it. So I
fit.
sold those accounts, and then I have the one that I have right now, the Chicago Sports account. Um, but yeah, it's not something that the Twitter account is something I knew a long time ago. I would say I started, tweeting, like I said, in high school for this account. It didn't really go like how I expected it, but I've always had a passion for Chicago sports, so I continued to tweet, and then I wouldn't say there was a turning point. I would just say that um, like I said, I've always had a strong passion for it, and people like my opinions, people like what I do. So I saw it as an opportunity, and that's how I am where I am today because of it.
Okay. So, like, when you were in high school, like, were you pretty set on doing something in sports, or were you kind
Oh
of
yeah,
okay?
I've always knew that I wanted to be in the Chicago sports industry. I've had classes, I had science classes, math classes, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I'm never gonna need this in my life.
Yeah, it
Because
always feels that way.
yeah, so there was times in high school where I had to, I said I had to go to the bathroom, but it was only for like Chicago sports stuff,
Yeah,
trade deadline or there was other stuff going on. Or I've had days where in high school where I couldn't go to the school because there was a bunch of news going on. So
mm,
I stayed home, even though I basically called in, said I was sick a lot of
yeah,
times. But that's the kind of drive that I've always had. I've always wanted to be like one of the first ones to get the news. I've always had that drive, when there's stuff going on, like for example, the NBA trade deadline always used to be like during like the day.
yeah. 3 p.m. or
Yep.
whatever. Yeah.
So those kind of days, or I've always like left school early because I knew there was stuff going on and I couldn't miss it. And I didn't want to get distracted. So I've always had that drive, and I've always, wanted to work in the Chicago sports industry.
I love that passion. I love it.
Yeah.
If you know what you want, go
Yep.
for it. Uh,
Absolutely.
so you kind of touched on this a little bit, but how do you want people to view you? So you do reporting, writing articles, you do a lot of things for social media. Like, how do you want people to look at you? Do you like kind of being that full package? Like, how do you see yourself?
Yeah, I want someone to be, I guess, known for, if someone had a long work day and they know what happened in like the Chicago sports day that day, I want him to go on my Twitter account and be like, okay, now I know what happened throughout the day. I'm caught up. But
Mhm.
I want to be like credibility is very important in the sports industry, and I want to be very credible. I don't want to tweet some stuff out that's not true, or some fake stuff, or for clickbait or all that kind of stuff just for the followers. I want to be reliable. I want to make sure the news that I'm tweeting out is the correct news. Um, yeah, like I said, I think being one of the first ones to tweet stuff out is very important and can get you a long way. And that's, you've seen that from, my Twitter account with the
Yeah.
followers and people, mentioning me. I think it goes a long way. So that's what I kind of want to be known for.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a great answer. It's such an interesting thing, because they kind of all go hand in hand in a
Mhm.
way. Obviously, you can tell with the social media,
Yep.
reporting, occasionally the articles because it's about all the stuff. So yeah, that's good to know, and that's a great thing. Like coming home at the end of the day, people are there's people who like rely on sports like that, like
Yep.
sports news, and just relying on you for that. So you're definitely doing a service to a lot of people. I promise you that. Especially even me being a college kid, after class, need to see what's happening.
Yep.
Occasionally during class, but that's neither near here nor there. Uh, so um have you had any mentors along the way to help you get to where you are, or has it kind of been like you've just been working that much harder to like find your way here?
Yeah, I would say I don't know about mentors or like, people that I've looked up to. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of great talent out there in the sports industry,
Yeah.
but for me, it's always been like a one-man show.
Hmm.
Um, I don't really need to look up to people, I guess, to get the passion that I have because
Yeah.
I I have like I guess a different kind of passion. It's for me it's like a all day thing. It's a 365 every single minute.
Mm.
So I would say when I went to after high school, I went to Illinois Media School, which is a technical school in Chicago, and
Yeah.
a lot of my professors are in the industry, and I've had a lot of opportunities to get hands-on experience, which has really helped me out. So I would say, that has helped me out, to get kind of like the behind the scenes of what really goes down.
Mhm.
So that has helped me out. But for me, like I said, my passion is different from other people, and this is stuff that I really love, and I guess it shows from my Twitter account.
Yeah. Okay. So you brought up your Illinois media school experience. Why don't you talk to me about that a little bit? Because I don't know if many people know like what Illinois media school, like what kind of feels like? Like, what's some things you learn maybe, like that type of
Yeah,
stuff?
so it's not like a 4-year university. For me, I guess my mentality has always been in high school that, I don't want to go to a college that I know like the information I'm gonna get, especially in the sports industry, like I already know. And I always wanted to, if I go to like I guess a school after high school, I want it to be like a hands-on experience with professors that are in the industry and that can help you out. So Illinois Media School was an opportunity. I went there for 2 years. I got a lot of hands-on experience, filming stuff, doing podcasts, being on the radio for them in their school, doing Windy City Bulls games because they partnered with the
Yeah.
Bulls G
Okay.
team. So I did that. But for me, it helped me out not just, to see what actually goes down behind the scenes and how stuff actually works, but also the networking part. It helped me network and get to, opportunities where I might have not have happened if it wasn't for the school.
Yeah, so I'm sure I bet you met a lot of people through that, like that
Yep.
also carry similar passions you do.
Yep.
Um, do you still have like a lot of those connections now, or is it?
Yeah, so I always, for me, when I network, I always like to, keep in touch with people, even if it's not like for an opportunity, just like to catch up with them, see how they're doing. But yeah, I think it's very important. I always say for people that are interested in the sports industry to always network. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's literally what all I hear in the sports industry.
Yep.
Um, okay, so I actually have a couple questions for you that are not necessarily about you per se, but about Chicago sports happening right now. So,
Perfect.
a very hot topic right now is the Chicago Bears head coach.
Yep.
I was kind of curious if you had any input on the topic, whether it was things you're hearing or your personal preferences.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I always look at it like this. The Chicago sports teams, sometimes they act like a small market team.
Mhm.
And I think it's for me, it's always like a slap in the face to the fan base. Um,
Okay, totally
so
agree.
I think, I wish they would get like, like a Jim Harbaugh or Mike Tomlin or Sean Payton, like those kind of big guys, because
Yeah,
I think, Bears fans deserve that. And this is Chicago. This is not like Memphis or those small
yeah,
market teams. Um, so I think the process they're doing right now, um, it's an interesting process with the way they're interviewing head coaches and GMs at the same time.
yeah,
Um, I would prefer for them to interview GMs first, get a GM, and then hire a head coach. Um, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. I've never been a fan of Ted Phillips because I think a guy that is in charge of like basically the president of the Chicago Bears should have some knowledge of football, and
yeah,
he doesn't
yeah,
really have knowledge of football. So
yeah,
I wish they would hire someone that has knowledge of football and they can tell them like be real with them of what's wrong with the organization, why we keep doing the same things after like every couple of years. But yeah, I think the process that they're doing it right now, it's an interesting process, but I wish they would go after like the big fish out there.
Oh, I love that answer because I totally agree because I keep hearing Satan names circle around Jim Caldwell, Doug Peterson, and it's
Yeah,
like I'm sure they'd be fine guys, but it's also
yeah,
like Chicago is one of the biggest sport markets in the world. Like we should
yeah,
be able to get top tier coaches, and we have a
absolutely.
obviously young quarterback um, that there's a lot of hope for in Justin Fields. You got other pieces there. Roquan Smith is obviously fantastic. It's
Yeah,
you can definitely sell it to some of these coaches, and especially guys who have emotional attachments like Peyton and Harbaugh. I mean, Harbaugh obviously playing.
yeah.
Sean Payton grew up Illinois. You should be. I feel like there should have been a bigger push to try go swing for the fences.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see in the end of the day what they do with the head coaching and the general manager position because it's two very important positions. So hopefully
Yeah.
they'll get it right.
Yeah, something Chicago sports always. I mean, every Bears fan always cares about passionately about who gets those jobs.
Absolutely.
So I gotta throw a Bulls question your way because I'm a big Bulls fan. Absolutely my favorite team to write about. Uh, so the NBA trade line deadline is February 10th. We even talked about the deadline a little bit ago. So do you think the Bulls are going to pull out any moves? And I know you tweeted out an hour ago, Jeremy Grant, a possibility, the team circling around. So like, what's kind of your input? Like, do you see a move happening at all, whether it's Grant or not? Like,
So
well,
from, I guess my opinion and from what, I've been told, I guess it's a mix. I think they are looking to add pieces because they know they have a really good team and they don't want to waste that opportunity.
mhm.
Um, but I always look at it from, of course they're interested in Grant. I mean, he's a really good player,
Yeah,
but what are you willing to give up for him? That's not going to cost you in the long haul. And I always look at it, the Bulls don't have that much pieces to give up. And if you are going to get Grant, that will really mess up your cap space. And,
yeah.
then what you're going to do with Zach LaVine in the offseason because his contract is coming up. But I do think they are going to be active, not in the trade deadline, but in the buyout market.
Yeah, I've actually wrote about that a little bit. And that's even kind of talking about how Chicago needs to act like the big tough guys. They
Yep.
need to take advantage of the market. They need to take advantage of the fact that they're technically a top seed right now in the East. Like,
Yep.
I totally agree with the buyout market, though.
Yeah, I think that will be something that, why I said the buyout market is because you don't have to give up,
Yeah,
players,
yeah.
and they do have some salary cap that they can work it with. So I think that'll help them out.
Okay, yeah. And I had a weird theory on Jeremy Grant, and I don't know if you see it this way or not. But
Mhm.
so technically, when he was a free agent a couple of years ago, him and Denver offered the same deal that Detroit did, but he went with
Mhm.
Detroit. Now that makes me think Grant cares more about personal success rather than team success, which necessarily isn't a bad thing. But that's not what the Bulls need. They need team success. So I didn't know if it'd be difficult for a guy like him to buy into that if he declined that opportunity a couple of years back, because obviously his volume would go way down if he joined the Bulls. That's just the fact. There's a lot of guys there. So
Yeah, in the end of the day, there's some players that are out there playing in the NBA, and they want to be more of like the selfish kind of players
mhm.
than winning. Not sure if that's Grant or not, but hopefully if they get a player in the trade deadline, hopefully when he comes to the Bulls, he doesn't mess up their chemistry, and he's
Mhm.
a team kind of guy, not player only, looking out for his best interests.
Okay, yeah, because that's just the biggest thing right now, making sure to keep the chemistry. So many big names. I mean, you have four guys who are, I mean, three all stars, and Lonzo, who's definitely has improved so much in his game. It's you got, and obviously all the young guys with Kobe, and P Dub. I mean, P Dub's injured right now, but who
Yep.
knows? Maybe he'll be back near the end. But it's a lot to deal with, and Billy Donovan's done a great job with that.
Yeah, I think Billy is one of the best coaches in the league.
Do you think Billy or Arturas Karnisovas will win either of those, like exec of the year, head coach? How do you see that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think if the season ended today, they would be winning that award.
Okay. I think I'd agree, especially AK. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he's done so much to the city, so much to that team within a short amount of time. It's hard for myself to believe because I didn't think the Bulls would be able to turn around so quickly. Um, did you kind of see this season playing out the way it did so far?
So with the pieces that they've added,
Mhm.
with the Rose and Lonzo, Caruso, and Vooch, I thought they would be like a top five team in the NBA.
Yeah.
But the way they have gelled, they're not selfish. They're a team they're all team like kind of guys. They're not looking out for their best interest. So I think I didn't know they would be this good. And that's why I think for this season, you can't like I guess pass out on this opportunity. That's
Mhm.
why I think the Bulls front office will do whatever it takes in the trade deadline or in the buyout market to help out like the I guess the holes that they have in the team. Because
Sure.
if you look at the team right now, they only have two centers and the rest are guards. They have Vooch and Tony Bradley are the centers, and the rest of the players that they have are guards. So obviously you need someone that can, be that forward, the guy that can rebound the ball, and the guy that can also in the playoffs, can defend Kevin Durant, can defend
Yeah,
Giannis, and
that's
can defend those kind of players.
yeah. I mean, it's hard because the Eastern Conference is loaded at forwards,
Yep.
dominant forwards. So that's obviously the Bulls' biggest roster diffi- I'm trying to think of the word roster weakness. Sorry.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely glad to hear your answer on that. And I'll probably wrap it up for this podcast then. Thank you so much to our viewers. Daniel, thank you for coming on, man. I love talking to you. It was great.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course. All right. Bye, guys.